Hi everyone and welcome back. Okay, so this is a quick video for you, just showing you how you can enhance some of your ink drawings by using graphite. Now I'm using a very large piece of graphite here. It's a 5.6mm clutch pencil lead, and I'm just using it on the side, on the flat edge of the lead, just to lay down very smooth and even layer of graphite for the sky. Now the scene that I'm actually drawing is from a photo I took of a village church very close to me. I took a few liberties with the photo. I opened up the centre there to expose a little bit more of the church. In the original photo you could only really see the top of the church just peeping over the trees there. But yeah, I mean, a few liberties with artistic license and you can create quite a nice composition. Anyway, so once the graphite was laid down there, I'm just smoothing it over now with a piece of cotton wool. And when that's done, I'm using a similar treatment in the foreground, just trying to create a few darker midtones there, just to help push the light over into the middle ground a little bit more and light that area, and not focus quite so much on the foreground detail. And incidentally, if you like this drawing, you like the style of the trees there and the foliage, all drawn in ink, there's a full lesson of this over on my Patreon page, where I guide you through all of the techniques to achieve that foliage look on the trees there, and of course all the graphite part of it is included as well. There's also quite a few more ink and graphite drawing demonstrations over on Patreon as well. Sometimes I use ink and watercolour, sometimes just ink on its own, and other times, like this drawing for example, ink and graphite. So if you're interested in ink drawings and a little bit of mixed media work, well, here's a few other examples of ink and graphite drawings that I've done recently on Patreon, and all of these are lessons as well. Now, this first example is a very nice, fairly easy country lane scene. All the trees were drawn in ink. The shading on the foreground path, I used graphite, and the distant trees were graphite as well. And in this next example, I used brush pens for the trunks of the trees and fine liners for the branches, and then again a little bit of graphite there just to create the distant trees along the foreground there, and a little bit of shading on the canopies as well. Now this one again is quite an easy one. It's just mainly a silhouette in the foreground and graphite used to create the sky and the water and the distant land there. And this one, a little bit more complicated, a lot more detailed and a lot more involved. And for this one, I mostly used a combination of fine liners and technical pens, and then some watercolour for the shading and the sky. Now this is a fairly recent one that I've just done. All of the windmill was drawn in using ink pens, and the background and the sky and the clouds and everything was all done using watercolour. So there you go, there's a few examples of some of the lessons over on Patreon for ink drawing and mixed media. So as you can see from those examples there's a little bit of something for everyone at all skill levels. Anyway, back to the drawing, and I'm just blending in the foreground there just to soften it in and give that nice soft sort of foreground grass look. And with an HB pencil I'm just drawing in a few very distant tree canopies there, just at the back of the church, just to give the picture a little bit more depth. And hopefully at this stage of the drawing you can start to see now the effect that graphite has with ink. I mean, both mediums are very compatible together. You can draw over graphite with ink, or you can draw over ink with graphite. It doesn't really matter which way round you do it. But the main purpose of it, I guess, is to achieve some of the more difficult midtones, which are quite hard to achieve with ink. I mean, yes, we can use cross-hatching techniques and pointillism and all of that good stuff to get a lot of these midtones and everything. But I think graphite used in conjunction with ink does a really good job of getting those softer, for example like these trees here, those kind of softer, slightly out of focus backgrounds, and nice blended areas of midtone, which are really difficult to get with just ink pens on their own. And if we take a look at the trees, for example, the ones that I've drawn in ink there, the three large ones in the middle ground, they were all done using a very fine, I think it was a 0.10 rapidograph, rotring rapidograph technical pen. And yes, although I've achieved some mid-tones in there, I mean that was done basically with pointillism, and it doesn't all look just black and white. You can, if you kind of squint your eyes a little bit, you can see a few sort of lighter mid-tones in there. But it's given the trees, a very nice look. They almost kind of sparkle because of the high contrast, of the black and white and the clever use of pointillism to achieve those sort of subtle mid-tones in there. And it can give things like foliage and textured areas, a really nice look. But sometimes, or particularly with skies, water, distant trees and things like that, it can be very hard with pens to actually achieve that look. That's why I've sort of adopted several other methods, including graphite, to achieve these kind of softer, more out of focus elements in landscapes. And I know there'll be ink purists out there that probably won't agree with this, but I'm a big fan of mixed media and combining lots of different media together. And I think graphite and ink really is a magical combination, along with watercolour as well. I mean, don't get me wrong or anything, I love pure ink drawings in their own right. I do them myself, I think they look fantastic. I love to see other artists work when they're just working in pure ink, and see some of the techniques they use to overcome some of the difficulties with the midtones and everything. So just ink on its own really is just a fantastic medium, it really is. But put a new twist on it if you like, a new spin on it, and just to try something different, have a go with a little bit of graphite. If you don't like it, the best thing about it is you can just erase it out and you're back to your clean black and white ink drawing again, with no trace of graphite whatsoever. So it's a very safe medium to actually use with ink, and I think it gives really nice results. So, I mean, here's the finished drawing here. I mean, you decide, do you like this, or did you like the drawing right at the start of the video before any graphite was applied? It'll be interesting to read your comments on that, just to see what people actually prefer. Anyway, a few final finishing touches there with the ink pen, and that's pretty much the drawing completed. But like I say, if I don't like the graphite, I can always erase that out and return this back to its original condition of just a black and white ink drawing, no trouble at all. Okay, so don't forget, this will be a full lesson on Patreon. I think there's 3 videos to accompany this. It's only $4 a month to join, and you've got access to over 600 videos there. So it's a real bargain. I'll leave links to Patreon in the description below and in the end screen cards as well. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.